All right, everybody. Hey, we are back from a break. We've got our good buddy Aaron Young from Laughlin and Associates here. Really kind of doing a hybrid of two presentations for a little bit. So I just want to say that so you guys may have heard some of the information on the front end, but don't go anywhere because I asked Aaron to do a little bit because we've had people that have maybe not heard Aaron speak before because the aspect of what he's talking about, how to protect your assets like the Rockefellers, how to really, as he'll say, own nothing, control everything, not to take any thunder from you, sir, is you got to set some things up properly, and especially in the commercial space, whether it's commercial real estate, commercial notes, you're going to be dealing bigger dollar amounts, bigger funding amounts, like we talked about with Joel recently and a few others out there. You got to have your stuff in place, and this is one of the most valuable sessions that a lot of people just space over when they're building their business, building their real estate empire. You want to make sure and start with the end in mind and make sure everything is, all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. And what Aaron's going to cover here is very, very valuable. And one of the things I think is really important for every real estate entrepreneur to understand. So, Aaron, honored to have you join us on a Sunday, brother.
It's great to be here, Scott. I always love being with you guys. And, it's really true. I just came from an event in Dallas, Texas, not too far from you. And I've been going there since 2011, sometimes several times a year. And I always say to the owner, the guy that puts on the event, that's for business owners, I said, can I just do a different talk? And he's like, no, everybody needs this one. This is the one talk in the whole company that we insist on everybody hearing. So if you've heard it before, hopefully there'll be always a little new slant. And of course, we're going to do something I've never done. I had to reorient all the slides today because of your request, Scott. So I got to ask one technical question, then I'll go right to work. I'm looking at my camera. Does it look like I'm looking at you?
Yes, sir. You're golden.
It's driving me crazy because the camera's in a different place than usual. And so I keep wanting to look up here. And so folks, if you get a little vertigo by me keep looking over your head, I apologize.
You're looking great, brother. You're looking good. It's not up the nostrils either, so you're good with the clean.
I cleaned it all out this morning. I made sure I'll look good for your people. I always like to look good for Scott. So tell me how this looks.
You want to maximize your screen? You want to maximize your PowerPoint? Take up the full screen?
Yeah. Why isn't it doing it? Should have gone to.
Now, yep, there you go. Good stuff.
It's still good? Okay, good. All right, very good. Well, folks, we're going to talk today about building your corporate fortress. Now, what I mean by corporate fortress, as a matter of fact, if you call my office and you talk to my employees, they might be in sales or customer service or HR or in the accounting department or whatever. But they're not an accountant, they're not a salesperson, they're not a customer service person. We're fortress builders. We have been for 48 years building fortresses around our clients' personal and business assets. And that's what we really want to do for you. And I know some of the people that are in the event today are already our clients, and we appreciate that. We have a very great relationship with Scott and his tribe. But for those of you who don't know me or who haven't pulled the trigger yet, I hope that you'll pay close attention to what I'm going to talk about, because all the wealth you want to create, all the real estate empire that you think would be awesome to own or that maybe you've already built, it's all built on what I'm going to talk about right now. This is the foundation of everything. As a matter of fact, I have a client, I was just with him. He has the third largest minority owned company in the United States. Third largest. And he told me, he's been a client 32 years. And he said, Aaron, everything I've built is built on your strategies, which is precisely what I'm going to share with you guys now here at Commercial Note Camp. Okay. So with that, let's just jump right in. Talk about, first of all, the fact I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. I'm a business owner. I'm a guy who's been growing companies, either starting them or buying them, fixing them up, and either holding on to them or selling them. Sounds a little bit like some of you with real estate. Well, I do that with corporations. And I've started well over a dozen multi-million dollar companies that have built up huge numbers of clients. We've had hundreds and hundreds of employees. I'm a business guy. I've taken a couple of companies public. We still do that. But at the very basic foundation of it, I'm a business guy, not a lawyer, not a CPA. So if anything I say sounds weird or you're going, is that right? Please go talk to your lawyer, talk to your CPA, okay? Because I'm not giving legal or accounting advice. I'm giving business advice. And so here we go. Let me teach you some things. Now, at Laughlin Associates, which is one of the companies that I own, we want to help you form corporations, form LLCs. We do that in all 50 states. We want to make sure that your companies are organized in such a way that they'll keep you safe. So that you've got lawsuit protection, you've got asset protection, you've got tax reduction, estate planning. All of this is built on this next bullet point. This is corporate compliance services, which is part of what I'm going to talk about in my time today. So it's not as sexy as, ooh, let's go raise millions of dollars. But I'll tell you what, if this part's done, you're not going to raise the millions of dollars. If this part's not, is that right, Scott? Yeah, if you don't get this right, your investors will have the heebie-jeebies. And if you've gotten away with it so far, the worst thing that could happen to you is you get into a crack with somebody and all of a sudden you get sued and your company can't protect you. Let me tell you, that one would suck. So this is what we do at Laughlin. So why would you need to build a corporate fortress? Well, when you go out into the market, when you start to engage with people, there's all kinds of risk that comes along with it. So I've got listed on here things like client and family and accidents on the job, and you guys can see the bullet points. The point is, it's inherently risky to engage in the public. Now, it can be, in the United States, it can be inherently risky to be alive in the country because we're the most litigious country in the world. We have 5% of the world's population, 74% of the world's lawyers, and 94% of the world's litigation. So we're by far and away, the most litigious country in the world. And in real estate, especially when you're doing big deals, when there's a lot of money at risk, when you're doing notes and you're bumping people out of their homes, when you're taking over strip malls or office buildings or other kinds of commercial real estate, there's a lot on the line. And the main way people like to either slow down your project or if they feel like somehow they didn't get everything they'd hoped for, they start a lawsuit and they try to take money out of your pocket. And so we want to make sure that you are lawsuit protected based on what I'm going to tell you. And the things I'm going to teach you may surprise you. So again, people use corporations and LLCs for lawsuit protection, tax reduction, protection against creditors. Look at that third bullet point, you guys. Protection against creditors is the actual reason that corporations and limited liability companies exist. This is precisely why they exist, to separate you, the human being, from this business activity that you're engaging in. We want to separate the risk from your estate, which isn't just you, but it's anything you own, anything you've built. We want your corporation or LLC or a combination of both to protect you from if this project fails, okay? So we always want to begin with the end in mind. You see these pictures of the blueprints. We want to have a plan in place. We want to understand how we need to build our empire, build our first few deals, build our real estate portfolio separate from, maybe our stock portfolio or from our operating going concern kind of businesses. We want to make a plan before we just start going out there and doing things willy-nilly. So we want to consider what's the right thing for us. The key to getting protection, think about that. The key to getting protection inside of your corporation or inside of your LLC, the way you get all the benefits is by separation. Separation is the only way to make the project separate from the human. Now, here's the deal. Most of us out there going in business in this world, we think of it all being intertwined. I mean, after all, we self-directed our IRA or 401k, or we maxed out our credit cards, or we borrowed money from friends and family, or we took all of our savings, and some people said we were wackadoo for doing it. But we saw the opportunity. You guys see the opportunity. It's why you're here. You see the operation or the opportunity. So in order to have the highest level of protection and the lowest likelihood of losing your stuff, you've got to separate things into different buckets. One of the most important phrases that I teach in virtually all of my training all over the world is this: I am not the corporation. The corporation is not me. I want you to write that down. Write it down. Now, you could insert LLC if you want, but I am not the corporation. The corporation is not me. The more you believe that those things that you're buying and putting into your entity, that's my rental house. Those are my projects out there that are the fix and flips. That's my strip mall. That's my, office park tower. That's my storage unit. Those are mine. That's my truck. That's my computer. The more you think that way, the more you're going to screw yourself up, because that stuff becomes that property of the assets of the corporation or the limited liability company. You've got to separate the two. This is a big deal because the courts and the tax man will only give you the benefits you want if they can see that you've taken the steps to be utterly separate. It's a big deal. All right. So I don't care if you have a C corporation, an S corporation, or limited liability company. S corp, C corp, LLC. First of all, let me just interject this. If you don't have any of these yet, later on, actually just right there at the bottom of the page, see the phone number? Now there's nobody there today on Sunday, but write down that number or write down the URL, laughlinusa.com, or write down my email, Aaron Young, AARON, Aaron Young at laughlinusa.com. Write it down. Because if you don't have a C Corp, S Corp, or LLC, I'm going to show you here about midway through this hybrid presentation how I'm going to help you get one to get started. And we're going to start the right thing at the right time, in the right way, with all the right pieces in place so you're solid. Okay? But we're not there yet. Just write down the stuff so you can get a hold of me, because I don't have an easy way to have you just do it online. So you're going to write that down. This stuff will stay in the footer. Okay. What do all C Corp, S Corp, LLC have in common? They are required by law to hold board meetings, keep minutes, pass resolutions, issue stock, issue membership certificates, have a full-blown corporate record book. They're required to act like a real company. A real company. Not your hobby, not something you kind of threw together on the cheap to try to do it the cheapest way, but you didn't get it done completely. If you don't do it completely, I'm telling you now, you don't have anything. Whatever state fees you're paying to your local state is going down a rat hole. Okay? You must do corporate formalities. You must issue ownership certificates, and you must have a fully realized corporate book or the equivalent of it in files or whatever. So they all have to keep corporate formalities. So what do we mean by that? Let me tell you about the nature of what's going on, good and bad, out there in your world as you go out to operate with a corporation or LLC. I want to talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to talk about what does it mean to do formalities, what do you need to do, excuse me, and then how do you begin to do it? All right. First of all, here's the good news. If you don't have a corporation or LLC right now, or if you're using one, I want to tell you that there are so many freaking benefits to having a properly organized corporation or LLC. When you do it right, it's like getting a huge pay raise. So much of your life can start to be pre-tax. It's got to be ordinariness. There's got to be a justification for it. You can't cheat. You can't be sneaky. But there's so much that you probably don't even know that you can do. It's amazing what you can do. Just as a silly little example, you can see all these examples on here. Let me give you another example some of you may have heard of before. Maybe you haven't. So like I have a home on the Oregon coast. It's beautiful. Looks right down on the beach. Got a beautiful beach, and then you see way up and down both sides of the beach, and of course out to the ocean. It's a stunning place. 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 3,200 square foot home that we built back in 2002. Now, my corporation, well, first of all, I could rent it out to anybody. So if my company needs to hold some retreats or needs to do a planning meeting or needs to do a small event or something like that, we can look around and say, I wonder where a good place to hold this event would be. And we need to get bids from several places. So you check some other rental houses or some other hotels or whatever. Say, okay, so if I'm going to do a 1-day, 2-day, 3-day, whatever event, what would it cost me to do it in these different venues? And then once you have those, you figure out a reasonable number based on those quotes. It's got to be in that range. And then you can rent your own vacation house or your own personal house for that matter. You can rent your place for a going market rate, which could be, I do a lot of events in hotels. So it could easily be a few $1,000s a day. And you can do that for 14 days a year. And you don't have to claim the income, and you get to take the deduction as a company, but you don't have to claim the income to yourself. So your company is paying you, the owner of that beach house, for, let's say, $3,000 a day times 14 days, right? That's going to be $42,000, if I did my math right, $42,000. That's tax-free. Is that freaking cool?
Awesome.
That's a little thing. You can hire your kids, and I think under the new tax laws now, you can pay them up to, $12,000 a year?
Wow.
So you pay your kids, the company takes the deduction, the household, neither the child nor you, this is your children that are 18 years, or they're not yet 18, so up to 18 years old. You can hire your kids, and under the new laws, pay them quite a lot of money. So when it's time to buy a video game or a pair of tennis shoes or go do something fun, buy a car, whatever, the money's already in their account. Your company got a deduction, your household didn't pay tax on it, and now your kids are buying stuff that you're maybe, and remember, underage kids, you're on that account too, but those things that you need for the kids are being paid for out of money that they earned tax-free. Super freaking cool. So there's a ton of benefits to having properly organized business entities. So with all these big benefits come some big responsibilities. And the biggest mistake that we see in our business, now we've got close to 50,000 customers right now that are business owner customers that are in some way, shape, or form connected to us doing something. So we see this stuff all the time. And of course, I'm out speaking in webinars formats like this, as well as live. I just got in yesterday from Dallas, Texas, where I was speaking down there, and I'm somewhere basically every week. There's all kinds of stuff that you guys need to know, but the biggest mistake that I see that business owners with corporations or LLCs make is their failure to follow the law and formally document their business decisions. This isn't just a nice idea. It is the law. You are obligated by law, federal law and state law, to treat your business like a real corporation or LLC, which includes corporate formalities. So let's just talk about it. What's the risk of not doing it? Well, every 22 seconds in this country, a lawsuit is filed against a business. Every 22 seconds. Remember, we're the most litigious country in the world. So almost, well, you can see the number, 57%, over half, are filed against companies of $1 million or less. So that's probably most of everybody listening to my voice right now. Not $1 million in transaction, $1 million in real estate. You guys do a lot of transactions. I'm talking about your money that comes into your company. not your net profit, but your real receivables, not the transaction size. That's only at real estate events do I really have to explain that, because you guys do huge volume or huge numbers, but I'm talking about your money. So that comes in, that's the company's money. And if the company's doing $1 million or less, you're the sweet spot for litigation. Why? Well, we'll come to that in a minute. What else? What about audits? Audits. Federal audits actually have gone down a little bit against larger companies and have gone dramatically up, 38% up on companies of $5 million or less. So why are you guys the bigger audit risk? Why, or I should say audit target, or why are you the bigger litigation target? And here's the reason. Because you're not prepared, and they know that. They know, when I say that, I mean the adversary. I'm talking about people that want to get money out of your pocket, either for tax money through audit or through litigation, redistributing your wealth. You guys, they know that you're making a living, you're making a little extra money, you're finally enjoying some of the fruits of those labors, but you don't have in-house counsel. You're still using Uncle George or your niece, Mary, to do your taxes, or you're using TurboTax or something like that. There's nothing wrong with TurboTax, but it's you kind of go, oh, well, I didn't really keep a mileage log, but let me see, I drive about this many miles a day times this many days minus my vacation. Okay, we'll just throw in this number. They know that stuff. They know that's how you operate. It's how all of us operate when we're getting going. But it makes us a huge target for easy collection, not a lot of roadblocks, not a lot of hassle for the government or your adversarial lawyer to come in and reach in your pocket. So the formal documents are what show that you and the company are that you're separate. They're the only thing that prove that you and the company are absolutely separate. And if you don't have them in place and you're ever examined, then they will strip away from you first of all, the corporate veil that is protecting your personal estate from this business activity. They'll also go back and say, hey, guess what? Those tax deductions you took that were only available to corporation or properly done LLC? Remember all those? Guess what? We're taking them away. They're going to go. That's what happens. And I see it happen all the time. So many people come to us to get these things fixed. And they're what I call event driven. They've had a horrible event. They never want to let that happen to themselves again. So they come and say, please help me get organized right. Because you guys were wise enough to be here today and to stick through several days and still be here on Sunday, you guys have such an advantage because I'm telling you what the reality is, and I'm going to give you a simple way to fix it. Simple, inexpensive, utterly accessible. But you wouldn't even know to do it if you weren't here. So congratulations for being wise enough to be here with Scott Carson and all the other people that are here at this commercial note camp. We don't want you to get your butt kicked in a lawsuit or an audit. That's exactly what we see happen time and time and time again. We don't want it to be you. Remember that? I'm not the corporation. The corporation is not me. How do we prove it? See, the bad guys are coming after you, and what they want to do is pierce the corporate veil. Have you heard of that before? Piercing the corporate veil? Piercing the corporate veil, according to Wake Forest law, has become the most litigated issue in corporate law today. And at least half the time, they get your personal and your business stuff in order to satisfy any judgments. And at least half the time they win, according to Wake Forest. So if piercing the corporate veil is the most litigated issue in corporate law today, and I'm going to show you another statistic in a little while, it's way more than half the time. Here's the point. If there's a lawsuit every 22 seconds, and if audits are up 38% against small companies, then that tells you that we're in, we're in sort of turbulent waters as small business owners. It doesn't mean we have to be afraid. It means we have to be prepared. If you're unprepared, you should be afraid. And a guy told me, I spoke at an event 6 or 8 months ago, and a guy walked up to me who's a pretty well-known speaker, and I didn't even know he really knew me. And he walked up to me and he said, "Hey, Aaron, can I tell you something?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Your talk is so much more fun the second time, so much better the second time." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "The first time I was freaking out the entire talk. I was texting my wife, I was texting my accountant, I was texting my partner going, oh my gosh, we're unprepared, we're screwed." And he said, "The second time I got the jokes and I got the stories and it was great." So here's what I want to tell you. If anything I've said thus far makes you feel unprepared, that's good. That's good. Or if you're going, "Ooh, I didn't know I had to do all that stuff. This may seem complicated." It's not complicated, but it is important. And we do want to do it right. And we know now that small business owners, small companies are the main target. So we want to get the bullseye off of you by getting you prepared properly. Small corporations and LLCs, as I said, are the most at risk. So what do we need to do? What do you need to do? If you have a corporation, if you have an LLC, or if you want to get into any business, you're going to want to build that fortress around you to separate you and your personal stuff from the business, and separate the business and protect the business from you. Why do we want to protect the business from you? I don't know. I've raised 5 teenage drivers. Okay? Do you know what I mean? Have you ever raised a teenage driver? My kids all said, "Dad, why do I have to drive this stupid car, this hoopty-mobile right here? Why do I have to get in that thing and go on a date or go see my friends?" And I said, it's really simple. You're going to hit something. Eventually, you will hit something with the car, and it's not going to be my car. It's not going to be Mom's car. You get the hoopty-mobile, okay? And guess what? 5 kids, at least 5 times things got hit. So that's one of the reasons. If your kid goes out and rear ends somebody out joyriding one night, nobody got killed, nobody got totaled, but they all of a sudden find out that this kid's parent is a big real estate investor, owns a string of McDonald's franchises, does whatever they do. All of a sudden, that little fender bender that could have easily been solved, they're going, "Oh, I don't know, my neck really hurts. Oh, my back. Oh, I can't work." And they go out and get a lawyer who works on commission. They call it contingency, but it's commission. And they come after you. That could be for anything. That's why I said protect your company from your personal estate. Often it's going to come the other way. Somebody's going to get ticked off at you. You didn't hire or fire or do a deal the way they liked it, or somebody didn't get all the money they hoped to get, or something went wrong. Somebody goes on your job site, steps on a nail and gets hurt. They come after you with a lawsuit. Negligence. Okay? Am I sounding really negative? I'm not being negative. I'm just telling you the truth. So what do we need to do to protect you from all that? Well, first of all, you must start holding board meetings. What are board meetings? You've seen them on TV. You've seen them in movies. Maybe you've sat on a board before. I've sat on a lot of boards, everything from church kind of boards to large nonprofit corporations to some pretty significant public company boards. I've been on a lot of boards. You think about that big walnut table with all the people in suits sitting around it, men and women looking all spit and polish, and deciding the fate of some individual or some company at the board meeting. Or it's critical decision time and they're in the board meeting. Well, you got to hold board meetings. Corporations and LLCs are obligated to hold board meetings. What do board meetings consist of? It's primarily just 2 things. One is you have to keep minutes of the meeting. So on this day, this time, these people or this one person all came together and talked about this stuff. So just what happened? You got together and talked about these things. Those are the things that need to be written down in the minutes. And then based on what you discuss, you pass resolutions. Resolution just says we decided something, we're resolved to do something, and then the resolution becomes the instructions or permission slip for the president of the company to go and do something. Now, let's be realistic. The vast majority of corporations and LLCs have one or two owners. Usually it's just you, or it's you and your spouse, or you and some associate that you decided to get together with for whatever reason. But almost all corporations, LLC have one or two shareholders or members. And to be honest with you, the vast majority of those are one. Okay. So some of you may be doing this with your parent or your child or your spouse or your friend, but the vast majority, one. So if you're supposed to hold a board meeting and it's just you, right? That seems kind of crazy. Seems a little like schizophrenic. Like, why would I have to hold a meeting with myself? Because when you're in board of directors mode, when you're thinking about the future, the direction of your company, where are you? For me, it's standing in the shower. And I'd say when I'm in a live event, that's the most common response I get, the shower. Because there's something about standing there and you can't really do anything. You're naked, you're wet, the water's warm, it feels comfortable. You want to stand there for a few more minutes, and your mind kind of releases stress and goes into future, goes into what if. I wonder what could we do? Or I wonder what we should do. People also talk about driving in the car. They talk about right before they fall asleep at night. My wife loves that one. We're getting ready to go to bed. She's come over laying on my shoulder, and we're getting ready to fall asleep. And all of a sudden I start talking about the bank account. And she's like, please don't do this. I'll be thinking about it all night. But we can't help it because we relaxed finally. And now we're thinking about other things besides just getting the work done. Or maybe it's at 2 o'clock in the morning when you wake up freaking out. Whatever it is, when you get into that mode where you're thinking, I wonder if we should sign that lease. I wonder if we should take that money. I wonder if we should, if I can take a car allowance or buy myself medical insurance, or maybe I need to change CPAs, or maybe, I don't know, there's hundreds of them. That is all of a sudden you're in a board meeting in your head. You've started a board meeting. Did you go, let's call this meeting to order? We're going to go ahead and, abstain from reading the minutes from the last meeting because we're laying here in bed, or we're standing in the shower, or we're driving in traffic. Yeah. So let's go ahead and start doing the business of this board meeting. No, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do it like you would if you had other people there. But the fact is, you're in board mode at that point. You've taken off president or manager hat, and you've put on board of directors hat or chairman of the board hat. And once you start those thoughts, those are the minutes. And once you make a decision, that's the resolution. And those things you are obligated by law to record those things in the proper format, print them out, and keep them in a corporate record book. That's the law. Okay? So before I go to that next slide, let me just say this. If it seems crazy, I understand that. If it seems ridiculous and stupid, I understand that. But it doesn't change the fact. And you can put stuff off for as long as you want. I often say you can drive 100 miles an hour through the school zone every day, and it will never matter until what happens? Until you get caught, until you get examined, until somebody sees you do it with authority, that policeman, that lawyer. Once that happens, you're toast. All right. So the biggest way to pierce your corporate veil is not hold corporate meetings. Scott, were you going to say something?
No, I was just looking, just touching base here.
Okay, very good. Sorry about that. So the number one way to pierce the corporate veil and lose all your stuff in a stupid lawsuit or in an audit is to not hold board meetings, keep minutes, pass resolutions, issue stock, do all the board of directors stuff. What else can you do to pierce your corporate veil? Well, commingling funds. Entrepreneurs commingle funds all the time. They write a business check to pay for a personal expense. They write a personal check to pay a business expense. They use a personal credit card to pay for business expenses, which is okay Except for then what they do is in order to pay the credit card, they take a corporate check or they do it on through their corporate bank account and they just pay the check. They act as though the business owed your personal bill rather than the business needs to reimburse you and then you pay your personal bill. See that one little step where the company reimburses you and then you personally pay your credit card bill. That one step, when you skip it and go right where the company pays that credit card bill, you've commingled. You've said, I am the corporation and the corporation is me. It's all my stuff. There is no separation. We're all one. We can just play nice together in the same sandbox instead of saying we're utterly separate. It's a huge mistake, folks. Stupid mistake. Not one you should ever make again after hearing this presentation. Don't do it. It's really easy. The company pays you, you pay the credit card bill. Period. Now, somebody's going to ask me at the end of this, well, what if I've got a credit card that has my company name on it and so on? Well, that's fine. Your company can pay your company credit card. But if you've done like most people do, which is apply for another credit card and say, I'm going to use this one exclusively for business stuff, and you do use it exclusively for business stuff, and you are pristine in how you do it, and you get the statement and everything's a business expense, your tendency will be transfer money directly from your corporate account to pay the bill. And I'm telling you, that pierces the corporate veil. Pay yourself, then have you pay your bill. Takes an extra step, takes an extra 5 minutes, but guess what? You keep a fortress built around your stuff. Okay, what else? Oh, here's one. Failure to sign on behalf of the corporation or LLC. Always, always, always just put your title down. If you're an LLC, write manager. If you're a corporation, you write president, or you write director, or you write secretary or treasurer. CEO is not a title. CEO is a designation. You're the chief executive officer, but it's not a corporate title. President, which is probably what you are, president is what you write. So Aaron S. Young, president, anytime you do something on behalf of the company. Why? Because if you, let's say you go bankrupt someday, okay? And you get all the debt. So the thing didn't work out. You've got hundreds of thousands of debt and you go to bankruptcy court and the judge expunges all that debt and gets rid of it. Then when it's all done and the dust is cleared, your creditors can come back to you and say, hey, you know, we did forgive all of this stuff. But we have these places here where when you signed that purchase order, when you signed that check, when you did whatever, you did it just as Aaron Young, not Aaron Young, president. So we believe you owe this debt, not that dead company. And they'll come after you. And I've had clients, so many clients that this has happened to, and all it takes is a tiny little bit more ink to write pres or president. Okay, super easy, manager, MNGR or whatever it is. You know, just write your title. Just say, I'm acting right now in my title as the leader of this company. It takes no time, no money. It's a simple thing and it cauterizes a problem. And even if you were to win the argument later, it will cost you a small fortune to argue a stupid point that could have been solved by writing president. Okay? Super easy just to freaking do it. Here's another one people do all the time. They let their company fall out of good standing with the state. Just don't do it. If you're always going out of good standing and having to pay a late fee and all that, the courts or the auditors will say, you're treating this business like a hobby. No real business would let their company go out of good standing. So just, it's super easy. Pay your couple $100, be done with it. Here's what most people do. Nothing. They ignore it all. They put their head in the sand. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to do something, but I don't know what to do. So I'm going to put it off or just do nothing. I know there's something I'm supposed to do, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know what it is, so I'll do nothing. If that sounds familiar, you're in the right place right now because we're solving it right now. Okay, So people say, well, what's the big deal? And who's ever going to look at my corporate record book? Investors can look at it. Banks can look at it. Certainly, if you get into litigation, it's the first thing they want is your corporate record book. There's all kinds of opportunities. I just had one of my clients come and say she went to apply for a government grant as a double minority. She said, I'm a Black woman. I went for, not grant, a government contract. And she said, the very first thing they asked for, 3 years of minutes and resolutions. 3 years of minutes. And she said, guess what? I had it and I got the contract. Hooray. So who's going to look at it? Both things you want and things you don't want will want to see, are you protected behind the corporate veil? Have you been acting like a real company or have you not? Nobody's ever going to sue me. Well, I can tell you stories, and those of you that already know me know I've got a great story for when you think nothing bad's going to ever happen. But as I've heard my buddy Scott Carson say many times, as an investor, it's not if, it's when. It's not if you're going to be sued, it's when you're going to be sued. And it doesn't have to be for anything that you thought you were doing wrong. It can be for the stupidest thing you've ever heard of. It can be for something you look at and you go, this can't possibly be true because it's so freaking stupid. It's unfair. Are you freaking kidding me? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Scott, are you there? I don't know. Okay, he's not there.
I am here. Sorry, I was muted. Yeah.
Oh, no. Haven't you told me that this has happened to you and some of your students before?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you get sued for stupid. I had an attorney in Florida sue me for a couple condo note deals that we signed a contract on. I didn't have the collateral. I never took $1 from the guy's deposit. 6 months went by, and I'm telling them updates like, I can't find the collateral, so I'm going to have to cancel these contracts because I can't find the collateral to send it to you. He got all pissed off and decided to sue me just being an asshole. His words, oh, I'm an attorney. I just like to F with people. And so I show up at an event, and I get sued, and I give it to my attorney. He's just like, okay, great, fine. I had a guy who was a renter in a unit on a condo that we bought the condo on. We tried to offer up to stay. He didn't want to pay to stay, so we go to evict him. He sues me in federal court. All right. My next door neighbor growing up, a great lady, worked for an oil and gas company, was a secretary, and was writing checks to pay out bills. So what happened when the company went bankrupt, they went after her. All the creditors went after her because she wrote personally on the check.
Yeah, she was signing the checks.
Yep.
It goes on and on and on. Guys, this isn't just because you did some big fraudulent thing. It isn't because you're, I'll tell you what, I've tried really hard to be above board, good, honest business guy my whole life. And things have happened to me. And this is not the time to go through that story, although I've shared it many times on Scott's events. The point is, it comes out of nowhere. It's like a meteor that crashes into your earth, into your world, into your life, and just destroys everything in its path. Don't think nobody's ever going to sue me because I'm a nice person. That's fantasy. All right. I have an LLC. I was told I don't have to do it. Well, statutorily, LLCs do not have to do corporate records. That is the way the law is written. LLCs don't have to do records, but there's something that supersedes statutes, and that's called case law. And now in 50 states, case law says LLCs must do corporate records, keep corporate minutes, resolutions, issue membership, do all that stuff I've been talking about. The only exception is a one-member LLC in South Carolina. So unless you're a one-member LLC, which, by the way, just as a little aside, a one-member LLC in a lawsuit is considered a disregarded entity. In other words, they just go right after you anyway. So effectively, for sure, all 49 and properly organized LLCs in South Carolina all are now obligated by case law to do corporate formalities. People think I'm never going to get audited. Well, I told you audits are up, and even though the percentage is low, small business is the greatest audit. Sole proprietors are the biggest one. One-member LLCs are next, then s-corps, then c-corps, or multi-member LLCs. That's sort of the order. So if you're sole prop, high likelihood. One-member LLC, high likelihood. S-corp, slightly lower. C-corp, multi-member LLC, slightly lower than that. So I hope you never get audited. But even if you win in an audit, you still lose because it's expensive, it's stressful, it keeps you from doing other things. It's a freaking nightmare. So you don't want that either. Some people say, I'll have my attorney maintain my corporate documents. Well, this is also, when people tell me my lawyer does it for me, you know what I think in my mind? Baloney. That's not true. I don't believe it. And you know why? Because I work with over 200 law firms. And I know lawyers don't want to do that work. And lawyers send it to us. Lawyers want to form your corporation or want to do contracts or want to do litigation or want to do big projects. They don't want to do, $350 an hour to do a corporate resolution. I know they don't want to do it. So there's maybe the rare exception where somebody has the money and the inclination to do everything through the lawyer. No problem. I got zero problem with that. But when somebody says their lawyer does it or that's who they're going to get to do it, I'm telling you, there's a reason your lawyer has never marketed to you the great service they do for the corporate formalities. You know why? Because they don't want to do it. That's a fact. So I don't know. Some people say they'll do it themselves. And if you're a do-it-yourselfer, which by the way is no problem, you can do this yourself. You can learn this, absolutely. There are a lot of times that things need to be put into a resolution. And so even though we can't go through all the several hundred of them, I did put together a list, far from all-inclusive, but it is the most common things that people need to create a board resolution to make sure that they're on the right side of the law. So here you go. Now just don't try to write these down. Don't try to take a picture because it won't work. Just watch and think about what I've been saying about your preparedness. These all have to be done in a board resolution. Wow. It even surprises me, although I use this slide regularly, I always think, oh, it's got to be it. And then they keep coming. Folks, here's the question. Are you in compliance? Are you prepared? Are you ready if that audit comes, if that stupid lawsuit comes? If the investor says, let me look at your corporate books. I want to make sure that you're properly organized. Are you ready? If you fail to keep proper corporate records and you're ever sued, you have a 50 to 94% chance of losing your personal assets to satisfy that business judgment. 50 to 94%, according to Cornell Law Review. Those are not good odds. It's not a great fair fight, right? The documents are the only thing, the minutes, the resolution, the issuance of shares, the properly organized operating agreement or articles, not articles of incorporation, but bylaws. Those are the things. See, a lot of people have articles of incorporation. You can go onto your Secretary of State's website and they'll send you a little thing that gives you the articles. But what matters is the bylaws, because the bylaws are what you've told the world, this is how we're going to operate. And the government says, are you operating within your bylaws? And you say, well, I don't have any bylaws because I did $99 at some online service or through the Secretary of State. Okay. The documents, the fully realized, fully fleshed out corporate book are the only thing that separate you from the company and the company from you. And this should say creditor litigation. I've fixed that slide so many times. So litigator. The documents, guys, the documents are what matter. They're the thing that protect you. Now, if like that speaker that came and told me that my talk was more fun the second time, if you're feeling like that right now, I want you to know it's all fixable. No matter where you are, it's fixable. And we fix it all the time for people. So here's what we do. We have this service that we've been doing for many, 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 many years with tens of thousands of companies. It's called the Corporate Veil Protection Service. And what we do is we go back in time for 5 years. We reorganize all your corporate records. We ratify the decisions of the boards. And we then go from today forward 12 months and make sure that every month we're calling you and interviewing out of you what decisions were made, what things need to be documented. You don't need to know. We know. We'll ask the questions. And we're going to go ahead and make sure that everything is organized so that your corporate veil can't be pierced by somebody who wants to do you harm, right? We're going to make sure that everything's is in good standing, that everything is streamlined. We've done this a ton of times, over 100,000 satisfied clients, 87% renewal rate. People renew this year over year after year. And even those that say, well, I got it figured out. I don't really need you guys anymore. I know what to do now. We contact them 10 months later, and guess what? They haven't done one more record, and they come back into the fold. A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and we believe so strongly in the fact that this program will protect you that we offer a $125,000 guarantee that says if you have engaged with us and if you've worked with us, in other words, if we've gotten your records current, which we'll do, and we'll do it as fast as you'll let us do it. You have to be willing to get on the phone for 10 minutes a month. But if you'll do that and you'll let us get you current, if your corporate veil is pierced in a lawsuit or an audit, we'll pay up to $125,000 in legal or accounting expenses. We'll reimburse that so you can fight. Check that out. But guess what? Of over 100,000 clients, guess how many times the corporate veil has been pierced? Zero. Because when you follow the law protects you. And that's just the truth. When you follow the law, it is. So here's what it costs. It's $995, or you can make payments, $225 down, and then $80 a month for 11 months. $225 month one, $80 for 11 more months. You have to pay the whole thing. It's not a month-to-month thing. It's we're going to go to work. We're going to work our butts off for you, especially in those first few months. And if you're several years old already, and we're going back 5 years and getting you current, that takes a little time. But it's $995 or $225 plus $80 a month. You can go to corpveilprotection.com, and I encourage you right now. I still have more things to teach you, but on this topic, I encourage you to go right now, open another browser window, go to corpveilprotection.com, and go ahead and grab either $995 or $80 a month. And let me show you what else I want to do for you. Because we're here at No Camp, right? I put on an event called the Magnify Your Wealth Summit. Scott comes, and whenever you're available, you come and speak. I'm going to give you 2 tickets to the Magnify Your Wealth Summit. It's $997 value. Scott, do you have any just real quick words? Because I know we got to be careful on time to go through the other stuff you wanted me to talk about.
Because I'll tell you this, the Magnify Your Wealth, a phenomenal event, great place, not only just to network and learn about asset protection, but you get a chance to really sit down with Brent and Kevin and other attorneys there to help you really help structure this and sit down one-on-one, because everybody's situation is unique. We can all agree to that. And what you're going to cover in a little bit more of here is a lot of things that you guys will go through and discuss and break it down one-on-one for people. So we've got quite a few of our mastermind, actually about 90% of our mastermind students are actually already corporate veil clients. Yeah. And a large chunk of them are also Rockefeller clients with you. You're going to be discussing here in a few minutes. But they love going. The Magnify Your Wealth, well worth it. You have about 125, 150 people. Great networking place. Great way to raise capital if you're looking to network and raise some capital for some things.
There's a lot of investors there.
Yeah, great. Just absolutely amazing event. One of the best ones that we go to every year.
Thank you very much. So, guys, I want to go into this other thing because some of you are doing bigger, more complex deals where there's a lot at risk. So I'm going to give you a snapshot of one of our sort of more complex strategies. And even if you're not ready for it now, I hope you'll stay around for 5 or 10 more minutes while I go through this, because even if you're at the beginning of your journey, as you start to grow, I mean, there's nobody out here that thinks, oh, I really hope that I can go into investing in real estate. I can go into buying commercial real estate. I can go into business myself so I can fail. None of us go, oh, I really suck. I hope this crashes in a big ball of fire. We all want to make money. We all want to get rich. We all want to be successful. And what I've taught you up to now about having the right entity and treating it the way the law requires you to, that is the most basic, fundamental, foundational piece that I can teach you. The things that I do are much that go way beyond that. But I need you to know the foundation, because everything gets built on the foundation of the right entity or group of entities and the right compliance. When you do that, it gives you a hard, solid, concrete, reinforced steel foundation to build the high-rise empire you want to build. All right? So if you go ahead and join the Corporate Veil Protection Service for $9.97 or payments, you're going to get two Magnify Your Wealth Summit tickets. And if you do it today, and we'll know because you go to corpveilprotection.com and just do it, and we'll know what the date is. I'm also going to give you, anybody that decides to do it, something else that is kind of fun. It's called the Freedom Call, something that I do twice a month. And basically, I'm out working with some of the most amazing people that you'd ever want to know. I'll just give you a hint. Scott, here's a fun one you'll get a kick out of. Just a couple of days ago, I spoke on a program, and the next morning, one of the guys that I've read his book 30 years ago and I've probably given away over 100 copies of that book. And I've always just thought this guy was freaking brilliant to write this book and to build this business. The book was called The E-Myth Revisited, Michael Gerber. Michael Gerber spoke the day after I did, and I came up and told him about me first being introduced to that book way back in 1994. And he said, "What are you doing now?" And I told him about these things that we do. And he got all excited about me. And he said, "When I get done taking pictures, can you and I go sit down?" Well, guess what? Tomorrow, Monday morning, Michael Gerber and I have a conversation along with the president of his company to talk about how they want to use my stuff to help their business. So,
awesome.
Is that freaking awesome? This is, and you know, Scott, you know all the people, founder of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, founder of Uggs Boots, and those lists go on and on. I just told you about third largest minority company in the United States. There's something really cool I'm going to tell you about later, Scott, when we're not on the air. But there's some really fun things. So guys, join the Freedom Call. Is my chance to dump my bucket over what I've been hearing over the last couple weeks, what conversations I've been having, what's going on in the world, in the market, with all kinds of stuff. I just come on and I say, here's what I think is the most important thing I can teach you right now based on my experiences of the last 2 weeks. That's what it is. So if you think that would be interesting to hear, we do 24 calls a year. You're going to get it free if you enroll today. I sell for $500 all day long. It's the least expensive way you can engage with me. And frankly, I think it's some of the coolest information because it's the hot information. All right. So I've got 15 minutes left, right, Scott?
Yeah.
I'll try to do it in 10 so we have room for a little bit of Q&A. So guys, go to corpveilprotection.com. Join us. Let's go ahead and get you organized. Let's make sure you're safe. Make sure you're protected so we can do bigger and cooler stuff as you grow. All right, so let's talk about that. Scott asked me to talk about the Rockefeller strategy. It's a dual or even more than two entity strategy. All right, but this is as you grow and as you have more stuff, or if right now, if you personally have a bunch of money that you want to deploy into the market and you want to do it in the safest possible way because there are a lot of chips on the table. Okay? Scott, do you want to say anything else to preface this? I see you're still on there. No? Okay. All right. I just thought if there's some reason you want me to go through this. The goal of this strategy, which is more complex than just forming a corporate LLC, here are the goals. Take away the incentive to sue you. We want to stop lawsuits before they start by looking like you're impenetrable and also that there's not much to get. Okay. So first thing, stop lawsuits before they start. Second thing, we're going to create a separate legal person who becomes a friendly, guys, write this down, friendly priority creditor. You want a friendly priority creditor. Okay, how do we do it? It's a two-entity strategy at its simplest explanation. You have a holding company and an operating company. The operating company is the one that has business cards and a website and goes to trade shows and goes to RIAs and does all that stuff. The one that is engaging with the world, that's the operating company. And in this strategy, we want to make sure the operating company, which has all the risk and all the liability and all the visibility, has virtually no assets. And then we also want a holding company. This is where the money goes, the intellectual property, the heavy equipment, anything that's really valuable that we don't want the world to know who owns it, it goes over there in the holding company, right? We use this holding company, limited risk because limited exposure. Nobody knows it's there except you. Okay, it's not working with anybody but the operating company. Get it? I'm going to give you a diagram. You don't need to write it down yet. The holding company is going to hold the important, valuable stuff, all right, including money. So the operating company decides it needs help and it's going to engage with the holding company. Let's just say we're going to do this with money, with dollars, okay? So remember, the operating company, low risk, no assets, holding company, no visibility, virtually no liability, has all the assets. So the operating company takes a loan from the holding company, right? Doesn't matter. Let's say it's $100,000 or say $1 million because that's a fun number. $1 million, but what doesn't matter what the number is. Money gets loaned. Now, if there's a loan, one of the big mistakes we make is we often will take our money and put it into our company without any explanation of what the hell we did. So whenever there's money that moves, there's got to be an explanation for it. Just like if you went to a bank or to a third party, like a hard money lender or an investor in your project, there's got to be a promissory note, a deed. There's got to be something that explains the relationship. Okay, now, once the loan is in place and it's explained in the document, there've got to be payments and you've got to pay interest because any kind of legitimate loan charges interest. As a matter of fact, most states will not allow a 0% loan. And by the way, 0% loans look fishy anyway because it looks like self-dealing. So obviously the holding company is going to charge interest. Now, the holding company wants the best for you as the operating company. They want you to be successful, right? Because who owns the holding company? You do. So the holding company is on your team. So if you're making money hand over fist, the holding company may charge you a higher interest rate. Whereas if you're barely getting by, the holding company may charge you a low interest rate and maybe all they're asking for is an annual interest only payment so that your cash flow is okay. Whatever it is, the operating agreement or the operating company and the holding company, I promise you will come to a mutually beneficial deal, right? And then the operating company is going to start agreeing and doing the deal, making payments with interest according to the note. Okay. Now, all of this could be done in a vacuum and could be thrown together, papered together at the last minute if you ever had any sort of critical problem. And so while that might be convenient, it doesn't help you. And I'll show you why in a minute. And so the way that we make sure we put a date stamp on this and make it clear to the whole world when this relationship went into place, when the loan happened, what the deal was, the way we do it is we use UCC1 filings and we file them at the county courthouse. This shows the world that the holding company, as of a certain date, has a lien against the operating company against receivables, furniture, computers. I don't care what it is. Trade show, I don't care what the operating company has. The holding company is going to put a lien against it because they want to make sure they get their money back. Now, why do we need to put a date stamp on it? Well, in the law, there's something called first in time, first in right, or in layman's terms, first in time, first in line. Okay, so when we put a date stamp on this and the loan happens and everything works and it's all put in, filed and liened at the county by the UCC1 filings, then if down the road some adversary comes after you and they sue you and they win a judgment against you, before they get paid, who gets paid? The holding company. Because now the holding company is, right, remember the words I had you write down. The holding company is now the friendly priority creditor. They were first in line. They get paid before the new judgment gets paid. Get it? Friendly priority creditor. We've created a separate legal person, the holding company. It's a separate thing from whatever else you're doing. These companies don't own each other. They may have common ownership. Maybe they're both owned by a trust. Maybe they're both owned by a limited partnership or by a C-corp or who knows what. But the point is, these entities are separate and they don't have any relationship with each other except for that promissory note. That's the deal. And now the Nevada holding company is a friendly priority creditor. Why Nevada? Total privacy. Nobody knows who owns the holding company. There's no state income tax, so you're not getting that. Now, this doesn't mean you can skate on your state income tax. But what it means is as you earn interest in Nevada, there's no state income tax on that. Officers and directors are protected. They're indemnified from litigation. There's charging order protection, which I'm not going to go into right now. If you know what it is, you know how valuable it is. If you don't know what it is, this is a reason why you would come to the event or you would sign up for the corporate veil and let us explain the deep details. But charging order protection is only available for corporations in 2 states. It always starts in Nevada, then Wyoming always copies it. And I don't care if you use Nevada or Wyoming, we're in both states. We're in all 50 states. We'll do whatever you want. The thing I like about Nevada is they also have a big, huge legal community versus Cheyenne, Wyoming, which has limited legal community, which means if you get in a lawsuit and you actually have to use this stuff, you want to make sure you can get a good lawyer at a reasonable price who can really fight for you. So that's why I prefer Nevada over Wyoming, but effectively on paper, they're identical. So nobody knows who owns the company. Shareholders are not known, and thus this friendly priority creditor is not you. Remember, I'm not the corporation. The corporation is not you. Well, in most states, they can go, well, yeah, but you do own that company. In Nevada, no, total privacy. So this is what the strategy looks like. We call it the Rockefeller strategy because John D. Rockefeller, the second wealthiest person to ever walk the planet, told his children on his deathbed, his great advice to his kids was the secret to building wealth and power is own nothing, control everything. Own nothing, control everything. So, all right, that was the dual entity strategy. Now to bring it all the way back, we will spend time on this, hours on organizing it, and then you can sit privately with lawyers, CPAs, financial advisors, and so on at my event, Magnify Your Wealth. And if you become a client of, while you're here at the commercial note camp, by going to corpveilprotection.com, you're going to get 2 tickets to Magnify Your Wealth. The next one is November 7th, 8th, and 9th. If you can't make one, we do it twice a year. If it's inconvenient all the time, don't worry about it because we'll help you figure all this stuff out. But the Rockefeller strategy is another reason why you want to be at Magnify Your Wealth. Okay, so in conclusion, going back to midway, the foundation is the right entity and the corporate veil protection service. You can have that for this price by going to corpveilprotection.com right now. And you can do it tomorrow, but you're not going to get the bonuses. Okay, so you can do it any day and it's always this price. I don't ever reduce my prices. I never say it's $1 million value, but you can get it for $9.99 if you run to the back of the room. I never do that. This is the price every day, every day. But if you want the extra stuff, then I encourage you to make a decision. If you have a corporation or LLC, there's no excuse for you not getting your corporate records in order and being legal and safe. That's the thing. And then between the Freedom Call and the Magnify Your Wealth Summit, you're going to be always in the loop of what's going on, knowing what's happening and getting those ideas, the things that our super top end clients are getting, the things that our entry level clients are getting, the hearing the things that were mistakes and the things that were huge home runs. That's the Freedom Call. That's what I do on the Freedom Call. So there you go, Scott. There you go.
Yeah, great stuff. Well worth it. And then you guys, if you're doing the payment plan, you also will report the payments to the credit bureau too, to build some business credit too. You didn't mention.
Absolutely. If you want to build business credit, we do that for you. We help you with that. So do you have any questions?
Yeah, Paul asked a question here. Hey, if you have an existing corporation, have not kept minutes and resolutions of the past, can you correct the problems, or do you need to start a new corp?
All fixable. All fixable. We do this huge interview thing with you when it starts. When I say huge, it's not going to take you days. You just have to freaking get on the phone with, and you're going to love my people. Everywhere I go, oh, I love Debbie. I love Keechan. I love Rich. I love Brent. I love Jennifer. I love, they love these people. There's a reason why we have almost 90% renewal. That's much higher than the number of companies that are going out of business. Right. And so basically everybody that's surviving is staying with us.
Yeah. Wayne asks, is that an annual payment or one-time payment? The $997 is the first time. And then the second month is like $497, $597.
Next year. So to get it all done, to go back in time and to start from today and go forward for 12 months. Now, listen, if you buy it and you will not engage with us for 12 months and we get to be a year from now, that's on you. But we'll be calling you. People say you have the most wonderful, sweet, kind, loving nags that I've ever met, because they will just call you and say, is this a good time? Is this a good time? So as long as you'll get on the phone with them, they'll interview this stuff out of you and you'll get all current. You do not need to restart. All you need to do is just start fixing it.
Yeah, Debbie called me Thursday night, actually. Hey, are you going to send over your sheet for your new entity? I'm like, yes, Debbie, I got it worked on my desk right now. She's like, awesome. I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks then.
And if you haven't done it and you don't know how to do it, they'll sit and walk you right through it. We're here to help you, but we can't do legally binding stuff. We can record stuff, but there's some things you have to do, but we'll hold your hand through it. And if you have, by the way, if you have never formed an LLC or corporation and you're going, well, I'm new to all this and I want to do it, for the exact same price, that $997 or whatever, $995, or those payments, plus the filing fees, right? This, whatever the filing fees are. We'll do that for you. We'll get the corporation set up. You'll get the corporate record book, and we'll do corporate veil protection for the first year. And we'll do your initial meeting, which is a critical meeting in starting a new company. We'll do all of that for the same $997 or $225 down, plus the filing fees, and $80 a month. And then corporate veil is $499 next year for that next coming year, or you can just get on auto pay for $49 a month.
There you go. It's a great service to have. I'll tell you that right now, everybody. We use it for every entity we have. I've actually got all my corporate books are in a stack getting removed from the old office over to the new office.
Put them up on the shelf and show them proudly.
Yeah, but filling out. Tony comes in. Tony says, Laughlin is awesome. Keisha is my rep, and she's always reaching out when I don't call her first. That's a good thing.
Thank you.
Tony.
Good.
Yeah, Debbie's my rep. Everybody does a tremendous job over there at Laughlin, from Aaron to Megan to Brent to Debbie to Tony. Everybody over there is phenomenal.
There's a lot of people there, and they really work. They know that they're making a difference. Most of the days it doesn't, you don't know. You don't think about what's in that corporate book. But I tell you what, the day you get the thing from the IRS, the day you get the thing from the State Securities Board, the day you get the thing from some law firm, you go, geez, Louise, I'm glad I've got that stuff up to date.
Yeah. Todd Silverstein, I love the service, and Todd does a lot of stuff as well. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
Cool. Well, Aaron, you've done a great job. Thank you so much for bringing those two presentations together. I know it's not always the easiest. You really squeezed it in your time. Thank you guys so much for asking questions, listening. Like I said, we're all want to take things to the bigger level. That's one of the best things you got to do is make sure you're stepping out in the right steps and putting everything down so that, when something does happen, when the market changes or a deal goes south, you're prepared.
Yeah.
Right?
Solid foundation, guys. I don't care where you are. Get the foundation right. Then all this other stuff. I've been listening, and there's so many great things, but it all gets built on this.
Yeah, exactly. Aaron, thank you so much, bud. I appreciate you spending time with us on your Sunday. Give a big hug to Michelle and the kids for us, all right?
That is stuff for me, and we'll see you guys soon.
That's good. All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.